27.02.
All right, let's take a look at that lap. So going to be first lap, make sure to heat up your tires a little bit, getting out onto the track, maybe with a little brake drag if you want to. It doesn't really do too much, but it helps a little bit. So anyways, this setup here is probably going to be the most important setup that you will have for any hot lap in NASCAR. So what you need to do is you need to start right by this wall, and you cannot let the car slide up. You want it to be arcing down this whole way, but you want it to stay up top for a decent amount of time. So you see, I start turning down. It slides up a little bit. I don't necessarily want this, but you see how early I get it turning down? You want to have a big high to low, but the goal, and I'll show you what the goal is. One, the goal is to get in the throttle as early as possible. So I was able to get full throttle like right before the Geico restart zone, and that's about where you want to be. And then the second thing is you want the right angle to cut the dog leg for your hot lap. So I really like my car running over the yellow line and the start finish line intersecting. If I can get lower than that, that's good. That's even better. But it usually would require overslowing the car on exit, which you don't want to do. So if I'm lined up anywhere wider than this, I know I'm losing a bit of time. So anyways, you go over that intersection, go all the way to the bottom wall there, and then you want to re-enter the tracker on the intersection between the pit exit line and the yellow line. If you come up any much later than that, you're not going to be able to set up for the corner at all. So make sure that you don't stay down there too long. Okay, going into turn 1 here. I'm going to take this a little bit easier than you can, because I think that rolling the bottom is really good in terms of speed. So I get on the trail brake a little bit earlier than you might need to, and I trail brake all the way to the yellow line. Once I make that yellow line, I transition straight away to 50% throttle, and I just hold it. And because this is hot lap, I'm really trying to force the full throttle as early as possible. But you can do it like where this yellow and white line meet here. That's a fine place to do it. It's just if you're able to do it a little earlier, you can squeeze a little bit more time out. But if you're full throttling at that point, that is completely fine. Okay. So 3 and 4 here. We're going to be going down early. I kind of missed this a little bit, but it turned out well enough. I should have committed. So I really want to almost hit the pit wall here. But I get down to the yellow, it's like a couple inches off. And honestly, that couple inches is what stopped me from getting a 26.9 that lap. So you want to turn down and brake really, not early, but you need to get down there. You can drive in as far as you want as long as you make that bottom. Because once you make that bottom, you can just throttle 100%, or at least roll into 100% and unload your wheel. And the shape of the corner just works out that you'll make the exit. And for a hot lap, that's the best way to do it, because you're essentially taking this one really wide corner and making it into almost a straight line once you get the braking. So you brake into the corner, make the yellow. Once you make the yellow, roll into full throttle gradually. You'll get a feel for how gradual that gradual needs to be, but it's there. Okay. Full speed here. See, I'm not even worried about like the traditional racing line there. I just know that the track is wide enough to where I can throttle up and slide all the way up to track and carry my momentum, and that is all that needs to happen. All right, now let's go take a look at the long run. All right, now let's take a look at long run. So long run at Phoenix is very interesting. I don't love using the dog leg for a long run. I know some people do end up using it. It becomes definitely something you don't want to use the longer you go, because the re-entry is going to be like really slick and not really worth any time. If you're battling with someone, you'll definitely have to use it. So that's just my thoughts. If I'm running by myself, I'm not going to take the dog leg 9 times out of 10. But in terms of the lines itself, basically we want to make sure that we're hitting the bottom in this 3 and 4 sequence. That's very important.
27.5.
And then in 1 and 2, we want to make sure that whatever line we choose, you can run middle, you can run bottom. It doesn't really matter. I would personally run bottom, but you got to make sure that you're patient. You don't want to throttle up too early. You only want to throttle up about when you are able to make sure that your car doesn't slide any tires. Tire saving here is mostly going to be done in 3 and 4. That's where like the big wheel turning is done, but you can really kind of heat up your tires in 1 and 2 if you're not careful. A lot of the times tire heat matters more than tire wear. So like for instance right here, if I was to really slide this corner, yeah, the tire wear wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world, but the tire heat would make the rest of the corners so hard in a sense of keeping the car on 4 gripped up wheels. So just the early entries into 3 and then making really straight exits off the turn. You can see that I'm not really following the conventional racing line in 3 and 4, similar to what I did in qualifying, except I'm really making sure to get down to the bottom and make that exit super straight. 1 and 2, again, kind of multi-groove, kind of bottom is the best, but it's going to be really tempting to throttle up early in 2, and you got to fight that temptation for a long run. 3 and 4 you can throw up a lot earlier because you can kind of make a straight line in it. You see how it's like, I'm never really going to hit the wall there, so I'm just unloading my wheel and going full throttle early. Whereas 1 and 2, you go in here, and you got to wait a lot longer. You got to wait on this partial throttle. Don't be impatient, and then that might have been a little too early, but it was a little bit later in the run, but for this part of the run it was fine. So that's something that you're going to have to adjust throughout your long run, is that throttle point to 100%. You should be able to get to 50% throttle at the same place no matter what lap it is, but what your tires are limiting is how fast you can get to that 100% while still keeping grip. And again, back up your corner into 3 as much as you need to in order to get to the bottom. So like, let's say I had to back up way up here just to get to the bottom, it's worth it. This exit is like the best thing you can do at Phoenix, bar none. It shortcuts the track and you get a good exit because you just drive up the hill and you straighten it out. Alright, now that run felt to me like it was just wearing the tires evenly. If you're missing your marks, if you're sliding up the track, that will wear right front a lot more. But yeah, 98. So if you're running those lines, if you're being patient with it, if you're being consistent, then you should have normal tire wear until it gets a little later in the run, and then you have to start adjusting which tire you find it wearing on. All right, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.